And we welcome you to In the Circle Live after a thrilling game between Texas and Arizona. I'm Victor Anderson. Eric Lopez is finishing up the post-game press conference with both Arizona and Texas, so he'll be joining us very shortly. We've got a lot to talk about. We have our four semifinalists, and if you're a fan of the Big 12, today and this weekend was a banner weekend for you. And if you're a team for the SEC, I guess it just meant less. I guess funny. Peter Burns doesn't tweet anything about the SEC softball since Florida won that opening game versus Oregon State. But that's neither here nor there. Coming up, as I adjust my camera here, we're gonna recap what we saw yesterday with UCLA's stunning, and I mean stunning, run rule victory over Florida to advance to the national semifinals to take on Oklahoma. And we will also talk about the game that just finished a little over 30 minutes ago. Texas knocking off Arizona 5-2 to advance to the national semifinals. Well, they will be taking on a familiar foe in Oklahoma State. Follow us on our socials. And of course, we're hopeful to have joining us at some point by DePaul head coach Tracy Adix-Zins, but that's later on. And now, fresh off, perfect timing, coming from the press conferences, my colleague Eric Lopez. Eric, let's get to what the game that just finished just over a half hour ago between Texas and Arizona. Texas coming away with a 5-2 victory, punching their ticket to the national semifinal. And first of all, a tip of the cap to Arizona, who had a tremendous run down in March, April, May, get to the postseason, and then winning regionals in Missouri, super regionals in Starkville to get to Oklahoma City. Tremendous first year for Caitlin Lowe, and she admitted it was a tough year. You heard her very emotional during her interview with ESPN after they punched their ticket to Oklahoma City, but a fabulous first year for Caitlin Lowe taking over for Mike Andrea.
Yeah, it really was. In fact, just got out of. I just came. I'm a little late because the Arizona presser went long. Obviously, is what I expect with the Arizona media. A lot of questions to Caitlin. Man, this was a heck of a run for them. The highs and the lows. The first year, you're following the GOAT of softball, Mike Condrea, and the scrutiny that comes with that. And I think Caitlin's handled everything with class. And you know, we've had her on the show multiple times. She's class act. I mean, we covered her as a player.
Yes.
I think she's a big winner in all this. I think Arizona's going to be fine. They lose 3 seniors. They're going to have a good core coming back. But by the way, we'll have Tracy Adix-Zins in a couple of minutes. Ironically, that's she was part of the 07 World Series with DePaul. That was the year Caitlin Lowe and Taryn Moat won the national title for Arizona against Tennessee. But the big story here, Victor, is we're down to the Final Four, and it feels like a Big 12 tournament is broken out. We got 3 of the 4 from the Big 12.
Well, Eric, I kind of joked on the media on the message boards that it was the Phillips 66 Big 12, but I had to stop myself short before I say it was a Women's College World Series. And I'm surprised and I'm stunned, honestly. I mean, I'm not surprised at the Big 12 being strongly represented, but what I'm surprised more than anything is the fact that, okay, they got here. The fact that the path that Texas had to take, Oklahoma State and Kelly Maxwell looking as dominant as they have. And Oklahoma, well, they're Oklahoma. They proved it on Saturday, taking care of business versus Texas. And I'm surprised. I'm amazed, Derek, that I think for the talk going into the season was Oklahoma State, and could Texas somehow find their way not only to make it to Oklahoma City. I mentioned it, Eric, if you recall, when we first heard the news about Docini transferring from Arizona State to Texas, I felt that they could be a Women's College World Series team.
Yeah, I think we all did. Yeah.
Yeah. And not only did we pick them to make it, but I don't think anybody, between me, you, and Justin, I'll have to go back and check the numbers. None of us picked all 3 Big 12 schools to make it to Oklahoma City, but I'm sure.
No, I think we may have had 2 or a couple, but look, give them credit. They rallied. won in Seattle Regional, beat Arkansas in the Supers. This is their first Final Four finish in the World Series since 2013. And we can officially retire that Joe Tessitore soundbite that Texas is back, folks, because they're back, right?
Yes,
Can we get that's done, right, Victor? No
it's
more.
done.
They are back. Mike White, I think, has done a heck of a job with this team. And they have the talent, man. That's why I was so frustrated to some extent when they beat Oklahoma about the celebration, because they're capable of this. I'm not shocked that they got to this point. Docini has risen her game, and Janae Jefferson, think about it. Janae Jefferson and Kat Osterman are the only two Texas players ever to be a 4-time All-American. Like, I think we've slept on Janae Jefferson in her career. A lot of guts, and Mike White can coach his bleep off, all right? Which is why we're going to probably have a big news out of A&M this week, which we'll cover later at the end of the show. That's very important, but which is the other reason why I've been late. My phone has been, let's just say, busy. But anyway, this has been a heck of a push. And look, we have Texas and Oklahoma State. Remember last year, it was Oklahoma State that finished Texas season. Now they play again. Oklahoma State swept them, but it was close games. You never know. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
We shall see. But you kind of mentioned a little bit in the open, it being 07 with Caitlin Lowe and Tara Moat. The person that we're bringing on right now was there in Oklahoma City herself as part of a DePaul team that made it to the Women's College World Series, joined by DePaul head coach Tracy Adix-Zins. Joining us, Coach. Good evening, and thank you for the time. How are you?
I am good. How are you guys? Can you hear me?
We hear you good.
Yes,
You're sounding great. I like your hair day. You're having a good hair day. A little different than when we met, like in Orlando earlier this year, where you all came down to play.
Yeah, if it is hot outside, the hair will be up. But there was a birthday party today, so I thought I'd look like an adult.
That's fair. That's fair. Fair enough. Well, let me ask you first before I ask you for your thoughts on what we saw here today on the field. What has it been like for you to see the World Series here 15 years after you were there? You were an All-American, led DePaul there. There's a new schedule format now. What's it been like for you to see the World Series this year?
I mean, it's been awesome. I mean, just to see the transformation of the stadium, just getting to be on ABC. I mean, it's been awesome. I love the schedule. I think it's great for our sport. I love to have as much softball on in one day as possible. So for me, that's the only bummer, but I think it's great for the players to have a little bit more downtime, especially when it could be super hot in Oklahoma City. But it's just a lot of fun. I think the games have been, for the most part, I think they've been competitive and just a lot of fun. So just trying to soak it all in.
What has jumped out to you so far from the first 4 nights here as we're down to the final 4? We go from 8 to 4. What stood out to you so far from all the action?
I mean, I think what everybody's noticing is who's going to beat OU. For me, that's the biggest thing is I think someone can maybe beat them once, but I will be intrigued to see if someone could beat them twice. Just watching them go through the lineup and knowing that they have the pitching depth with 3 phenomenal pitchers that I just don't know if anybody can do it. I'm excited to see. I think Texas is playing some tremendous softball. I'll be curious to see them against Oklahoma State. I think offense has been phenomenal at times. Pitching's been good at times. It's just fun to see how the ebbs and flows of our game it keeps unfolding in the World Series.
15 years ago, you beat Oklahoma and Norman to get to the World Series. I mean, if you're available, we could fly you in maybe to help out somebody knock them off.
My teammate actually texted me and she goes, I want to take a little bit of credit for kind of lighting a fire under OU ever since that point in time. I think they've been kind of on that streak of continuing to be in the Super Regionals and the World Series. So we will take a little bit of credit for that. I mean, I honestly, I threw drop balls. So that was my big thing is let your defense play. Keep the ball in the yard as much as you can. And I don't know if you see a whole lot of that anymore. It's lots of screwballs, rise balls. Rise ball, I know somebody made a comment about it on a broadcast the other day that if the rise ball does hang, it tends to go out. hard and fast. Whereas the drop ball, you're probably going to get a ball in the dirt. So that was my key to success for OU. But I'll be excited to see how the next games unfold.
You got to be careful. Tell your team you got to be careful because some of the schools might blame you then because they got to deal with Oklahoma. You know what I mean? Like they got to be a little like, why did you wake them up? But
careful.
Right? Like but what is it about their offense that really is what stands out? Is they're so dynamic and explosive. I mean, how do you even pitch to this Oklahoma team?
So it's just you can't beat them twice. I mean, there's a lot of teams that you can beat hitters the same way. Whether you ladder out a little bit more, ladder up. Even just think about Williams' changeup, and then you saw that the next time around they were sitting the changeup, and it's like that's mind blowing. You don't see teams that can do it to that level. So that to me is again like even if you literally have to have a pitcher that can change her game plan every at bat, and I don't know if there is enough people out there that have the ability to, like, let's say the first time through, we're going to hit them with the hard stuff. Second time, the change up. Third time, now we're going up and down. Like, I just don't know if there's, and again, they are so strong that they can miss hit balls out. They can muscle them to the fence. They can muscle them into those behind those little short bloopers that is in no man's land. It really is impressive just to watch how their minds, you could see how they're thinking up there. They're not getting caught guessing. Like they legit know. And that's kind of just the part that's like, I don't know how I had my second baseman, Sandy Vojic. She's the one who said that we kind of lit their fire. She's like, I don't know why you pitched to Alo. And I said, I don't know. The person behind her's got 24 home runs too. So I don't know what you do. I think for me, when I watch people, again, I think the people that are getting hurt by pitching to them is because the ball's on the plate. They are human at the end of the day. So you have to figure out how can you work a ball off the plate into no man's land to where you get them to miss hit. If they single you to death, they single you to death. But I guess I'd rather have that than the ball leaving the park all the time.
Well, and they're going to play UCLA, who ruled Florida today. And boy, I tell you, with Acevedo look great, Megan Faramos look great. Could they have the recipe to maybe push Oklahoma here because they got multiple arms and Maya Brady had a good game. I mean, this could be the matchup. And then we still don't know how Oklahoma, how they're going to use Jordy Ball if they use her. She came in relief against Northwestern. We haven't seen her other than that.
Yeah, I think they can. I think people can. It's just you can't make a mistake. And that's where it becomes hard as a pitcher. Like, no matter what you guys want to, or what anybody wants to say, there is a subconscious that we have that we're like, we can't, like, you got to be careful. You got to do this. You got to do that when you're on the mound. And that honestly gets you in trouble because now you're like, oh, I can't put it here. And it's like, okay, now we throw it down the center of the plate and it gets hit 500 feet. So, I think they can. Again, it's just defense has to play behind you. They have to make some good plays, steal some hits, give you the opportunity. I don't think that anybody on OU's staff is completely unbeatable, but you got to take advantage of the missed pitches that they have, not get sucked into Hope's really beautiful rise ball, which I don't know how you do because it is a very nice pitch. You just either got to keep your hands up or you hope that she leaves one a little bit lower. But I think they could. I think it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a full team effort. It's going to take a lot of execution of keeping their hitters at bay and hope that you keep yourself in the ball game to give your offense the opportunity to score.
I want to ask you about Oklahoma State because you played Oklahoma State this year in Stillwater, part of an insane schedule that you played because you played in a tournament in Stillwater where you played Minnesota, who ended up being an NCAA tournament team. You beat Stanford, who ended up going to the Supers, by the way. And then after Stanford, you played Oklahoma State in their place. What stood out?
And the coldest game ever.
Cold in Stillwater in March. How cold was it?
The real feel was like 28, and we were like, Tulsa the days before was beautiful, like 90 degrees, and then we get to Stillwater and like I had players that didn't have sleeves. like we're putting sweatshirts on underneath our uniforms because we didn't plan for it, which are bad. But that was literally one of the coldest games I've ever played in. And that's
Wow.
saying a lot from
I
Chicago.
was going to say, you play in DePaul. Really? Wow.
Yes. Yes.
That's pretty
cold.
I'll make a note of that. Don't go to Stillwater in March early. What stood out to you when you saw them live in person, and what have you seen from them since? Because they've been on a roll themselves. You didn't get to see Maxwell pitch because she didn't pitch against you. Oh, by the way, they threw Morgan Day, who we might see tomorrow at some point. We're going to see. What was your thoughts on them?
I mean, I thought they were a good team. They were aggressive. I mean, they're definitely not going to get cheated on their swings. So that was the biggest thing for us is we need to make sure that we're executing our lanes and getting them to swing at our pitches and not leave too much on the plate. Morgan Day, I mean, she threw a phenomenal game against us. The sad part was she had done the same thing against us the previous year at Illinois State. So we obviously didn't learn a whole lot, which is okay. I mean, you still have to, you think it might be a little bit different. But I mean, we gave up a 3-run home run, which that created a 4-0 ball game. I think our team played a really good game. I mean, we just didn't have as much offense as we would have liked. But I think they're a scrappy team. Again, they're going to make you work. They're going to work counts. They're going to foul balls off. And I think they got a really good pitching staff as well. I mean, we didn't face Maxwell, but we did see Morgan. And I think they have some really good arms in the circle that could take them really deep into the World Series.
Can they push? They beat Oklahoma earlier this year. They got to play Texas here. What's your thoughts on the Texas-Oak State matchup? And if Oklahoma gets past UCLA, which of those two teams you think can push Oklahoma in the championship series?
Ooh, that's a good call. I mean, I would probably say that OSU would probably push them a little bit harder than Texas would. I just think they have a little bit more depth in the circle, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing. Is it's going to be hard to beat them with just one person on the mound. I think Dulcini's thrown a great World Series and postseason. I mean, Estelle came in today, and I thought she did a really good job. It's just, I don't know. I think Kelly and Morgan Day might have a little bit better opportunity to keep them at bay with trying to jam them and get them to pop up. And I mean, the biggest thing I would love to see is a lot more changeups. But I think that's hard too, is you've got to find the right time to throw it to OU. But I think it's going to be I think all of the games are going to be pretty good. I'm excited to see kind of just how each one unfolds, but I think OSU would have a good shot at pushing OU's buttons.
Seeing the Saturday and Sunday afternoon games, Coach, on ABC to give the game a bigger platform to help increase what we've seen from the growing attendance and eyes and viewership of the game. How big of is it for college softball to get on ABC, and how that could potentially impact the sport going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just a huge opportunity for us. I mean, I was talking to our compliance director, and she was having a conversation with someone, and they're like, "Well, I don't really like the WNBA," and she's like, "Well, you don't really get to watch it unless you're searching for it." And I think that's the biggest thing with softball is we need to be on mainstream TV. I mean, you always hear everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is an amazing game. It's so fast. It's like there's so many things going on at once." And usually everybody too is like, "Oh, your pitchers can throw back to back to back days." And it's like, yes, we could throw every pitch of a tournament if we wanted to. So I think it's just growing our sport. I think it's just a tremendous opportunity for these athletes to be on ABC. And I hope that we continue to get more opportunity to have just even regular season games across all conferences, all levels, to get just more awareness out there of how awesome our game is.
I want to ask you about instant replay. That's been used for the first time this year in the postseason in softball. I don't know. I don't think you had it. Did you have it in the Big East this year? Or was that
we did in UConn did.
You did? Okay. What's your thoughts on replay, what you've seen at the World Series and even in the postseason overall, what you like about it, and maybe do you think there should be some tweaks? What's your thoughts overall?
I think, I mean, I like it. I mean, it's helped us quite a bit. I think the hardest part, when you're in postseason, you have so many more cameras. That is the only thing I didn't like about it in regular season. And kudos to my administrator, Taylor Stapleton. He we went to UConn opening weekend for conference, and we realized that if your top cameraman doesn't move, you don't get the plays. So at that point, you're reviewing nothing. There's no video footage. So once we figured that out, he got us an extra camera just to have on first base, because that's where most of the calls that we're looking for are happening. But I think it's good. I think, again, as our sport continues to get faster and you have more bang bang plays, it just helps us get it right. I think that's the biggest thing. Is no offense to umpires, it's just these kids are working extremely hard for this. So if we have the opportunity to review it, why not? Like it is what it is, and nobody's going to be upset if you got it wrong. We're going to be more upset if we see video footage later of you getting it wrong. So I just think it just helps elevate our game. Again, we're trying to do right by everybody. So if we have that ability to review, sometimes I wish it was like football, where if you review, you get it back.
Yeah.
But I know that can get just stick. Again, everything for us is about how do we speed up the game? How do we speed up the game? So if you do that, you start having multiple, I think that can get to be just a little too much.
Drags out a little bit.
Yeah. I think this year was good. I know, I mean, I'm on the rules committee, so I know there was a lot of things about people were trying to run off the field as fast as they could so nobody could review the play.
Right.
And I mean, for me, I'm just like, come on, guys, like just the gamemanship. Like, it is what it is. Like, let people review the play. I mean, I asked a couple umpires, I'm like, can I come talk to you? And then if I don't like that answer, can I review it then? Because the whole rule is you have 30 seconds. So I'm like, okay, how quickly are we actually following that 30 seconds? Because I'd like to maybe argue for a minute, see if we can figure it out if somebody else saw it. Otherwise, I want to go. So I think there's just some things that we're going to have to do to just kind of, again, simplify it, just make it a little bit quicker. For the most part, all of our doings with it, I think, went really well. So I can't complain.
Well,
Eric, I'm sorry to interrupt. We actually have one of our followers in the chat has a question for this coach. Your thoughts about it? Do you see the next step in like letting somebody buzz down and telling you to should challenge a play, or
college football, they do that?
I don't know. I think I don't know if I would be a fan of that coming from a smaller school. So I think for me, even thinking about the managers that sit behind home plate and do all the charting and do everything like that, we don't have that capability just because we're a smaller staff. So for me, I think you get into a kind of a rough area of, it's going to be who has the biggest staff, who has the ability to do that, and who's somebody who's sitting there watching it or 7 to let you know to buzz down and say. I mean, if we could find a way to make it the same across the board, sure, I'd be all for that. I mean, it's sometimes too, like you at bigger schools, we'll see the replay on the Jumbotron. So then you're like, oh, great. Like now I know exactly where that pitch was. So that was always nice. But yeah, I think we'd have to figure out some logistics of that before I'd be down for that.
No, and it's tougher. It's easier said than done. But I'm trying to think of ways for you, coaches like you, coach. I mean, you got a lot on your plate as it is. And it's always awkward where you're like, hey, should we challenge that? Should we not? Because you only have 2 challenges. And then after the 5th inning, it's up to the umpire, but you don't know if they're going to go ahead and look at it. So it's like, I wish there was a way where we can take some of the load off coaches, I feel like, to some extent. I know it's not realistic, but I think that's where the question's coming from.
Well, and I think if we had, if we had some way to the 6th inning situation, I mean, we never had an umpire go look at it after the 6th inning. It always had to be initiated by us. So for that, I think, yeah, if we had somebody that could get in their ear and potentially do it, I think that would be great. Yeah, I think this year too, I mean, I always sat there with the rule book out, okay, what can I challenge? What can I challenge? And then just figuring out too, okay, we might be challenging this, but if you see this, does that count? Or would I have to do another challenge?
Right.
So trying to put multiple things in an umpire's ear too, to be like, look at this and this and this. What can I challenge? I tried to challenge something and they told me I can't remember what it was. It was the Big East tournament. And they're like, we can't do it, that one. And I was like, okay, I just figured I'd ask.
Right.
So, I mean, again, I think it's still just in the infancy stages. So trying to figure out how it works.
Well, I remember I covered the SEC tournament. LSU was playing Mississippi State, and there was a play, and Beth Torino was curious about, well, I want to challenge whether that was obstruction or not, but also, was she safe or not? Like, which one can I do? Do I have to challenge for both separately? I mean, like, you're right. There is still some things we could tweak, I think. And then you're right. There are some things that you can't challenge. That, like, why can't we challenge that? And then there are others. So, but I think overall, I think everybody likes it. And I think the big part of it is, and we had Laura Trout and Lisa Goller on our show on Friday night, and they made it, we talked about, this, the athletes today are so much faster, more athletic.
Mm-hmm.
It is harder for umpires to keep up with the pace of the game. I mean, in their defense.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny because on our staff, we all kind of sometimes look at each other like, do we challenge? Do we not challenge? And I'm like, I'm at a bad angle. So I'm like, I'm relying a little bit on Abby and Buck too, to be like, okay, what do you think? Or if it's a play, if it's a fielding play, I mean, I trust my fielders. I'm like, if you want me to challenge it, I'll challenge it. But you're going to be the one that has to potentially decide if you want me to go for that. I gladly will. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not challenging a whole lot. I mean, you always sit there and you hold on to them and you're like, well, maybe I'll need something later. But it's like, you know what? We might as well just start figuring it out and probably shooting early to see if we can get something reviewed and overturned. I was over for quite a while. I think it was the Big East tournament. I got my first one actually overturned, and I was really excited about it. So I was like, "Yay, I'm 1 for like 20," but that's okay. So yeah,
that's pretty good. Well, I think you probably have a higher batting average than that. I think you're kind of selling yourself short. I'll have to look back. But my main concern is the late in the game, like extra innings. Like I called the UCF Michigan regional game, went 11 innings, and a coach in theory can't challenge late.
But they can influence a umpire.
Right, but
right,
but it's kind of counterproductive because you're forcing the coaches to come out and say, "Hey, can you look at that?" Even though it should be up to the umpire. So I feel like it's counterproductive. I feel like, right? Like,
well, yeah, and I think they just don't. I don't know. Like, I just think that they're because they're involved in the game, that they're like, well, I don't want to go look at it. I'm right, and
right.
I don't want to offend any umpires, but I also want to be like, we just need to get it right. Like we're going to be more upset again if we watch the game later and people are out or there's obstruction or we're out of the box or whatever it might be. We're going to be more upset at that later at you than we are if you take the 30 seconds to go review it and be like, oh, she was safe or she was out or whatever it might be. I think that's more too, where it's not about you guys. It's about figuring out the call, making sure we get the right call, and making sure that the integrity of the game is continuing on. So, but we'll see if they think that way.
Oh, we'll give them some time for that. We're speaking with DePaul head coach Traci Adix-Zins here on In the Circle. She was part of led DePaul to the 2007 Women's College World Series. She was an All-American pitcher. I want to ask you about this whole tournament, because it's been one of the wildest tournaments that I can remember, with upsets. I mean, Oregon State got to the World Series. You played with them. I remember you and I had a long talk about your game against Oregon State in Orlando with Mariah and dealing with Mariah Maison and company there. Well, they got to the World Series there. What's been your thoughts about this postseason? What does that speak to the game? It probably speaks there's a lot more parity now than maybe ever before. What's your thoughts? Are you been surprised by some of these upsets that we've had?
Yeah, I mean, I think coming from DePaul and playing in the 2007 World Series, I mean, it is honestly anybody's ball game on any day. So again, I think you saw a lot of it towards the end of the year of people were just starting to hit stride and play their best softball at the right time, which ended up shocking a lot of people. And I don't know too if it's sometimes teams go into a regional or a super regional and they kind of have that in the back of their mind, like, oh, we got this, like we're the seeded team, we're the better team, and it's not necessarily they think people are gonna roll over for them, but there is a little bit of complacency of sometimes not always in it 100% of the time. So again, and I think for coming from a small school, we take advantage of that. We play a little bit differently because we're playing with nothing to lose, because we are the unseeded team. We are the smaller team. So I think sometimes you get that. And again, sometimes you just get pitchers are on and the hitters are seeing the ball well and everybody's just kind of clicking at the right moment. So I think the World Series has been fun to watch. I mean, I told our team, so we played Oregon State, Oklahoma State, Florida, UCF. I mean, we played
Yeah.
Northwestern. We played
Yep.
a lot of the teams that were in super regionals and teams that were in the World Series. So it goes to show that it's anybody's game on any given day. So you just got to make sure that you're attacking and following game plans and let the chips fall where they may.
That's true. You did play Florida. You're right, because I was there. I saw you play Florida, and then UCF you played, and I forgot about Northwestern. Clearly, we needed to get you on earlier to be our analyst during the postseason. Now that's the lesson here, Victor. We got to bring Coach on earlier in our postseason coverage.
Well, we do have a couple of our fans, Coach, who want your thoughts on who you think will win it all of the 4 teams remaining. Who you got? Who you got, Coach?
Who for her winner? I mean, I think it's going to be OU. I really do. I mean, I'm hoping the games are great. Like that's my biggest thing is it is hard for me to sit down and watch games if it's a blowout. I want there to be a little bit more of a challenge. So at the end of the day, I'm just hoping for good softball. But I think OU is going to be very hard to beat 2 times this year.
Oh, UCLA, Oklahoma is the first semifinal. UCLA has to beat them twice. Oklahoma only has to win 1. Oklahoma State, Texas is the night session. Texas has to beat them twice. Oak State only has to win 1. Do you see either one going to an if necessary game?
I think the Texas OSU game could go to an if game. I agree. I've been watching everything, and Mike White saying they're the most dangerous team, and I think they are. They're clicking on a lot of cylinders, and they're making some incredible plays. They're getting some big hits. So I think that's the game that will probably go into an if.
Has there been any surprises that you've seen at the World Series? Anything that surprised you either way, either on the field or something you weren't expecting?
Not entirely. I mean, I guess I was a little shocked about the UCLA Florida game. Just kind of ending the way that it did. I'm going through the scores real fast because I'm like,
do you think while you look at that, do you think Florida had some as a result of playing last night, a tight game against Oklahoma State, whereas, UCLA had played Friday night? Do you think UCLA had an edge there because of that? Or do you think it was just one of those things, UCLA was just better?
I would say so. I mean, I think UCLA is a really good team, but I would say 100% playing the day before, playing in Oklahoma City, playing when there's so much emotion and so much just mental strain going on. It doesn't matter if you're playing early in the day or later. It's just it takes a toll on you. So 100% if UCLA has the day off, I think they just were a lot fresher. It just makes it harder. But I just didn't think Florida, again, was the team that we saw when we played them at UCF and kind of what has gotten them there this year. But I know at the end of the day, people run out of steam. It's hard to keep it going throughout the entire postseason. I mean, that's who wins is can you keep the stamina going? Can you get the days off that you need so you're fresher than everybody else? But I think that was kind of the game that caught me off guard the most was just the UCLA Florida game.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, look, it doesn't matter if it's conference tournament, regional, supers, or even in the World Series. If you could just stay on that winner's bracket, it's a big edge, especially if the talent is that close. Having been in that winner's bracket versus coming out of the loser's side or coming out of playing back-to-back can make a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just so hard. Again, I know Oklahoma's been a little bit cooler than it has probably been in past years. But I mean, in 2007, I mean, Taryn just went on a tear with the changeup. But I know it was a lot for them. I mean, playing every game to get back into that championship game, it takes a toll on you.
I got to ask you about 07. That's a pretty famous World Series for you to be a part of. You were there. Monica Abbott, Tennessee. You mentioned Taryn Moat, Arizona, who's coaching at Arizona here, pitching coach. I mean, that's a who's who of pitchers there.
Yeah, there was a lot of us. I mean, Northwestern was there in 2007 as well. So you had a lot of us that have been around in the coaching game for a while now. It was fun. It was a lot. It's crazy to think it was 15 years ago when you said that at the beginning. I was like, oh wow, that's a little much for me. But no, it's fun to, again, you follow everybody after you're done playing and just seeing where everybody is and what everybody's doing and seeing the impact that they have on the game. And again, everybody, even Garland Cooper and Tammy Williams, still just being around, like they don't work in it as a coach, but they're still around the game. They're still impacting it. So there's a lot of people out of that 2007 World Series that I know are still real big in the softball world.
Yeah, you were there in that World Series. Northwestern was in that World Series. Is it 2? Tennessee was a 5. Arizona State, I believe, was there.
Yes.
Was that Burkhart? Or who
Yes.
was that? Wow. A&M was there too.
That's Amanda Scarborough's team, right?
Scarborough
Yes.
and Gibson. That's
Yes.
That's an incredible list of pitchers.
I didn't even think about that until you started saying it, because I was like, God, I can't remember who else was there with us.
I'm looking
And
it up.
Baylor rounded out, and Baylor was there too.
Which
who was the ace at Baylor that year? That's like a who's who, though. I mean, that is incredible. You all were the 14 seed, which was kind of crazy. I mean, you pulled the upset, I guess, over Oklahoma. If they call it an upset there, but
it was an upset. I mean, I think I was talking to a recruit, and OU had not been beat twice on their home field in 2007. And we remember Patty saying that at the press conference, and that kind of just fueled our fire, because we were like, well, get excited, because that's our goal, is to beat you twice on your home field. It was, I mean, Mindy Cowles for Arizona State. I mean, there was a lot of people, and then Arizona State ended up winning it the next year, because that's the team we beat in 2007.
Yes.
We lost our opening game. And then
Washington you lost.
Yes.
It.
Yeah. So Daniel Laurie.
Oh my God. That's just wow.
We got no hit by her.
Oops.
A lot of people did in your defense. I mean, this is like a Hall of Fame, World Series here. I mean, and when you came on the podcast earlier this show, you were an All-American that year. I think you were top 5 in the country in ERA. The only people that were ahead of you was Monica Abbott, and like a youngster named Angela Tincher. I mean, that's, and Allison Kime of UCF is in the UCF Hall of Fame. I mean, that was like a golden era of pitching.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely changed tremendously. I mean, again, I think the bats are just way better than what they were, although we did have the yellow catalyst, which that bat was the hottest bat I think anybody has ever swung. I had a kid bring it to camp like 4 years ago, and I'm like, can I test it just to see where it tests at? Because I don't know if I want you swinging that around people, especially off live pitching. But no, it was there was a lot of pitchers there, just a lot of great teams. Again, a lot of people that are still just in and around the sport, whether it be travel ball or college levels. So yeah, now that you put it all out there, definitely.
Well, you belong on that list. So I'm really,
Thank you.
That's why one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here to talk about the World Series then and now, because I know you follow it very closely. Last thing, what do you think is going to be the key for whoever moves forward tomorrow and beyond? What's one key factor to watch tomorrow and beyond to say, hey, if whoever does this will end up winning the whole thing or going to the final, all that?
I don't know if there's one thing. What I would like is I want to see the pitchers challenge a little bit more of, I feel like a lot of people are afraid to throw inside because they don't want to hit people. They don't want to get it in the box. And again, I think you can get it in there and you can get people to swing at your pitches. I want to see more of that because then I think it challenges the hitters a little bit more. Now you have to be more strategic about what pitches you're looking for and what you're going to do to put a ball in play. And then I think the offense just be offense. I think right now across the board, all the teams are seeing the ball well. And that's why I challenge the pitchers to be just a little bit more strategic in the lanes that they're trying to hit. So we can see if we can have maybe a little bit more pitcher dominated game.
All right. We'll look forward to that. We're going to let you go. You got family, you got a family, you got kids, you got to do stuff. But thank you for taking the time. We'll see if we can sneak you back in during the Champ Series at some point, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
But hey, great job. And like I said, thanks for doing this. You and I talked for hours softball, so it was cool to do this, at least for a little bit on live broadcast. But thanks for the expertise, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, let me know about the championship series. That'd be great.
Sounds like a deal. Ladies and gentlemen, Tracy Adix-Zins, All-American at DePaul in 07, led to the World Series in 07, head coach at DePaul. Wow, that was fun. That was fantastic.
Fun. That was wild to think about the star power that was in Oklahoma City 15 years ago where Coach was there. I'm like, what?
So who's who? Fun.
Her, Danielle Laurie, Amanda Scarborough, Monica Abbott. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm just.
It's kind of a who's who. It's kind of like that was the first World Series I ever watched on TV. So that's always one that I always think about. Now, let me give you a shout out to our friend Michelle Carlin, who was obviously where else would she be? She'd be at the World Series.
Of course.
Who, by the way, you got awesome seats, which of course you do. You should. But I'm very envious of those seats. So she talked about how they ran into Holly Acevedo today. That's a valid point.
Yes.
She talked about the weather. It was hot today in the stadium too. It looked hot. But let's kind of quickly give our thoughts here, Victor. UCLA, I really like the move there by Kelly to throw Acevedo instead of Faremo. I think a lot of people are expecting Faremo, but I think she knows for them to get to the championship series, they're going to need both of them. And I thought Acevedo, Florida had no answers for her. It was weird to see Florida kind of self-destruct there with defensively with an error and a wild pitch there that kind of helped UCLA break the game open. But I'm impressed with Faremo and Acevedo, and I think this UCLA-Oklahoma games is going to be a lot better than I think some people think. Oklahoma, rightfully so, is the favorite, but I think there are some questions here.
And Eric, let's remember, Faremo did not pitch for UCLA in the World Series last year, and they surely could have used her when they took on Oklahoma on that Saturday night. So that's going to be a big difference maker. And let's not forget Lauren Shaw, transfer from Iowa. They can use her in some spots as well because Coach Adix-Zins mentioned you're going to need pitchers who can throw multiple levels of the strike zone.
Yes.
Up, down, in, outside, different speeds, different spins. UCLA has 3 pitchers that can definitely do that. But to what Coach talked about, it's all about making sure your game plan changes each time you go through that Oklahoma lineup, because we saw what happened with Danielle Williams when she went through that Oklahoma lineup that second time. We saw what happened with Oklahoma when they saw Haley Docini the second time, and Simpson subsequently when she came on in relief. Can UCLA and Lisa Fernandez figure out 1, possibly 2 game plans for UCLA to be successful if they want to knock off the Sooners?
By the way, Michelle Carlin, if next year World Series we have to sit together, if you hook me up to a seat, I'm down. That's all I got to say. Yes. She looked fantastic. Like I saw they talk, because they did that whole thing with the Bruin bubble there and all that. And I'm like, hey, there's Michelle Carlin. I know her. It was cool. It was kind of cool. That was my favorite moment. And on ABC. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, Jordy Ball, her status will be key. No, I didn't see. I don't care what Jordy Ball's dad tweets. Here's one thing I'm gonna make this real clear. I think Victor knows where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I'll give you the spotlight. Go right ahead, brother.
I could care less what a softball parent tweets. Don't care. I just don't care. That's all. Nothing personal. I just don't care. I just want to see what happens on the field. So, look at this, Michelle. Vic, we got an invite. Looks like we got some seats.
Well, that might be coming fresh from Chattanooga to Oklahoma City.
That's not a bad drive. Justin's made that drive. You and Justin can hop in.
I ain't driving. I'm flying, brother. I'm not one for long road trips in the car.
Touche. Florida, obviously, tough end of the year. Their offense went cold. They got shut down by Maxwell and Acevedo. And then I think their pitching kind of was what it was. I thought it was interesting. Tim Walton got a little emotional at the end of the presser today. You don't see that from him,
No,
but
rare.
So it just brought some interesting
But I
speculation.
think,
But a good year for Florida. Good year for Florida, all things considered.
here's the reason about the emotion for Coach Walton. This was not a typical Florida year by their standards. Struggled in the SEC. You had some losses that kind of make you shake your head. You didn't really have the consistent pitching. Charlotte Eccles up an All-American year last year, went homeless in SEC play. You go to the SEC tournament, which you host. You go 1-1, but you find a way to get through regionals, and then you go to Blacksburg. You blow the doors off Virginia Tech and Supers to make it to Oklahoma City. But I think Coach Walton really, I think he had an appreciation for this team and all that they had to go through to get to this point this year. Because, again, in the SEC, everyone was talking about Alabama. Everyone was talking about Arkansas. People were talking about Missouri at some point. But in the end, Eric, who was the one team carrying the SEC banner in Oklahoma City? It was Florida.
But some of the chat room has brought this up. Kind of a disappointing postseason for the SEC and the ACC.
Oh, yes. Yes.
To only get one team combined from those two conferences in the World Series is a disappointment. They will not be represented in the National Championship Series. We also now know that with Florida's loss, that means no more Alyssa Lang on the SEC network from OKC.
Or Kayla Bro.
That's disappointing. But I think, Victor, and I discussed this a little bit on Friday. We discussed this, all year long. The big thing that was kind of talked about, and I got to give Michelle Smith credit because she was the one that kept bringing this up, was the SEC ERAs were up by like a run. Mm-hmm. And we were trying to figure out, is that because the offenses are that good? Yeah, we kind of downplayed it, but now in restrespect, that was a red flag for the league.
The pitching in the SEC wasn't as strong.
No,
as it was in previous years.
I'll give you this. Nobody in the SEC has as talented a 1-2 punch as Faremo and Acevedo. Okay, sorry. I mean, what I've seen, I'll take Faremo and Acevedo. Faremo,
I will agree. I will agree with you on that. I will agree with you on that.
I mean, Oklahoma's staff, Jordy Ball or without her, Hope Troutwhite's quietly is very scrutinized, but she's actually at the top of the country in ERA. So they know what they're doing. My point, Texas, Dostini has taken it to a different level. Yes. Oklahoma State, I mean, Maxwell's been incredible. My point is, pitching gets you here. And
heck, even look at Oregon State with Mariah Mazone.
Absolutely.
Stanford,
Arizona, Bowen and Mets. Yeah, they stepped up in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, the pitching, you can make the argument the pitching in the SEC wasn't as good as the hitting.
No.
It wasn't at the same level as the hitting.
And maybe that caught up with them. And I got to give Justin McLeod, our friend, credit. Remember, he was the one in the preseason that pumped up Kelly Maxwell.
He did.
And he's been proving good. And credit to John Barfelt, the pitching coach there, and Kenny for developing Kelly Maxwell. Because everybody was all on the Miranda Ellis bandwagon. And she's got a great – but Maxwell's been the ace from day one.
Right. Look, Maxwell came in All-American favorite, and she's done nothing but to exceed those expectations.
And that right. And I'm going to be curious how Kenny decides who to throw in the first game against Texas. Does he go right away to Maxwell? Does he go to, Day? I'm very interested to see what he does.
I could see him going to Morgan Day, then bring in Maxwell to close. She's already warmed up, ready to go for the if game. Now, keep in mind, again, with the schedule, Texas plays Oklahoma at 7. If Texas forces the if game, that'll be 30, 45 minutes after that first game has come.
That's going to go if necessary because we might be going live after that game. So, of course, it'll go if necessary.
You heard it, folks. Hey, Eric said it. He said it, not me.
I mean, I kind of agree with Coach Adix-Zins. I feel like, Texas is due to beat them. And that could be an if necessary, and that would be dramatic.
And Eric, remember, Texas all postseason long. It's all about getting that, definitely playing the disrespect card. You saw the tweet from Mike White talking about they're the most dangerous team in America. They got that monkey off their back. That game 3 super regional monkey. And remember, as you talked about, it was Oklahoma State 1 year ago knocking off Texas in a game 3 to get the Oklahoma City. So, and how apropos would it be for Texas to knock off Oklahoma State in Oklahoma and send Maxwell and Ellish back to Stillwater, and you could potentially have Texas versus either UCLA in a rematch on Thursday or have the Red River Showdown for the national championship.
Yeah. I mean, either way, Big 12 is in pretty good shape. But, we'll see what happens there. And then obviously we'll see what Oklahoma decides to throw in the first game. Do they go back to Troutwine? Do they go to Nicole May? We haven't seen yet. Does Jordy Ball start? I think that'll be interesting. I would assume UCLA goes for Ramo, but let's be real. Everybody's available.
Everybody's available.
By the way, I think Kelly Anyway-Perez, I think this has been her best job at UCLA, considering all the injuries they had, some of the youth they've had. They've faced a lot of adversity. And to get to this Final Four, it wasn't a given. This was not a given. I know in the preseason you could say, well, UCLA, of course, duh. But this was not a given. I think Kelly Anyway-Perez, who, he doesn't get talked enough because they always have the talent in their UCLA. So the UCLA coach never gets the credit because it's always, oh, well, of course they are. They're UCLA, right? But I think she's done a heck of a job because with this team all year, because it's not been smooth. I mean, think about it. They're without Aaliyah Jordan since Clearwater. And they won't be intimidated by Oklahoma. They will not. I'm not saying they're going to beat them, but I'm just saying I think that's going to be some good games. It's kind of weird that it's going to be in the afternoon, but that's part of the schedule. And again, in fact, when Blaireau here rubbing in, and Ferramo scares me. She really shut OU down in Mary Nutter. That wasn't Mary Nutter. That was the opening weekend of the season when they played in California. I've been impressed with her this week. That game in particular on Friday against Northwestern, that moment where she struck out Lewis with the bases loaded and then comes back the next inning and hits a home run on the first pitch as a two-way. I mean, we've seen great two-way players at
Rachel Garcia-esque.
Yeah.
Rachel Garcia-esque.
I've really been impressed with her, and it's a great feel. It's a good story there considering she missed the World Series last year. I really like the Acevedo move today. Acevedo being the senior, too, getting her opportunity. She was fantastic. I think they've done a nice job. I think if you're an Oklahoma fan, you were kind of hoping UCLA would have been out of here by now, right? Like, this is probably, if you're an Oklahoma fan, this was probably the one team you didn't want to see tomorrow of all the teams, right? Like, if Florida would have won, you'd have been like, all right, yeah, big nerd done that, or anybody else. UCLA, I still think Oklahoma's a heavy favorite. We'll see what Oklahoma does, but I wouldn't be shocked if we got 4 games tomorrow, Victor.
I wouldn't be either.
Which, of course, it would happen. I have a date tomorrow, so of course that would happen, wouldn't it?
What? You got a what?
You heard me.
A what?
Anyway, we don't need to go more in details on that. All right, let's talk other thoughts here. We talked Arizona beginning of the show. Great run for them. Victor's like, oh, why are you so shocked by this?
I got nothing. I'm gonna need a moment. I'm gonna need a moment, y'all. I'm getting for if y'all watch Saturday Night Live with Coffee Talk. I'm getting for Klimt. Talks amongst yourselves.
Wow, Bradley, thank you for that. Eric Lilo needs to be the main commentator for the National Championship Series. Dude knows his stuff. I'm gonna get here's what I will say.
That's always going to have a few words about that.
Forget all that. I'm going to give you a shot. Amanda Scarborough should be up for a sports Emmy. I tweeted this out after Thursday. She's flawless. Like, she's the closest thing to she's closest thing to perfection in the commentating booth. She never gets fluxed by any. She can adapt to how the game's going. She reminds me a lot to me, Victor, and I know it's a different sport, but we cover this. Kurt Herbstreit, she's the Kurt Herbstreit of college softball. Kurt Herbstreit's has won sports semis. Kurt Herbstreit is arguably one of the top football commentators. He's going to be doing NFL games with Al Michaels this year on Amazon, as well as this big games on Fowler on game day. I think Scarborough is just good. She could do studio, which I think is what she's going to be part of that for the Champ Series.
She'll be transitioning to join Madison
But
Strip.
I'm just saying, let me just say this quick. I think we're long overdue for the sports semis. Somebody in softball should get some recognition for sports semis. I know Holly Rowe won a sports semi for a reporting, but that was like I don't think that was even a softball story she won an Emmy for. I think it was a basketball one. I'm saying we need to see an Amanda Scarborough up as a nominee for one of the analysts category in the sports semi. I think she's one of the best, regardless of the sport. Would you not agree?
Yeah. Oh, without question. I can make an argument she's one of the top 5 analysts in sports today, regardless of sport.
Because every time I watch her and it's like, man, she's just flawless, right? And you know this, that's not easy. I don't for either play-by-play color. It's not easy to be that clean and smooth. And so I just want to point that out before I forget, because I think she's been, and it's been interesting this year because she's gotten the night session. Her and Kevin Brown, and a girl you're really high on, Andrea Carter, who a lot of people in the industry believe is a star in the making.
She is the next breakout star at ESPN because they had her during the SEC tournament in Gainesville. They got her to a super regional. Now she got the assignment in Oklahoma City. And here's the other thing people don't understand. She used to play basketball at Tennessee. So she has that understanding as a player and can kind of really decipher an athlete's thought process in those coach moments and present it in a manner that the common fan could understand and relate to.
Interesting. What's the ceiling for her, you think? Is she can she be Maria Taylor level, Laura Rutledge level? Can she get that level? Is that
well, Fabric's saying she could be the next Malika Andrews. That is now Malika Andrews, she herself won a sports Emmy last week. So she could do studio, she can thrive in multiple roles. And I really think that as she gets more seasoning and more experiences, she can be she is the next star in the making, without question.
Interesting. I didn't know. I didn't know all the background on that. I've heard from people that they think that this Kevin Brown, Andrea Carter Scarborough is kind of reminds them a little bit of Adam Amin Scarborough and Laura Rutledge.
Yes.
Look what's happened to that group since. With obviously Laura Rutledge has exploded, is now the face of NFL Live and does a lot of NFL stuff and college football as well. And then obviously Adam moving over at Fox doing NFL and doing the voice of the Bulls and stuff. Some people think that they're that level there.
I feel that way.
So,
so
we'll get more.
And Aaron, here's the thing that makes that chemistry so remarkable. They worked together very few times this season because Kevin Brown has his obligations as the television voice of the Baltimore Orioles. So for them,
the Orioles. Come on. Boo the Orioles. They're going to lose 100 games.
Send your tweets at Eric Lopez Elo, ladies and gentlemen. Just saying.
I think John Oran would agree with me. He's an Oriole fan. Anyway. No, he's good. No, you're right. I hear what you're saying. They don't work as often because of all the commitments. You're correct on that. By the way, Andrea Carter, I believe, was the sideline this year for ACC basketball with Shulman and company on Big Monday. So I think you're right, by the way. And no, the ratings for OU Texas is not going to be out until probably Tuesday. At the late, Tuesday. I would say Tuesday. So I don't expect TV numbers. I don't expect TV numbers to come out that quickly. Unfortunately, things are dragging out now. It's complicated reasoning. I mean, there's out of house numbers they have to consider and stuff. Right. The last thing you want to do if you're a network is come out with a number and shortchange yourself. Like there's some controversy over game 1 of the finals in the ratings, whether the number is accurate or not. Some people are saying, no, it's not, that they jumped the gun and there are actually more viewers than the number was reported. Some people are saying, no, that's accurate. So it's kind of a wonky time. I've had my own frustrations because I can't get local numbers for the softball postseason like I used to. for various reasons I'm not going to get into. It's too lengthy. So anyway, I don't expect the ABC numbers to come out until Tuesday. I can tell you, though, I am working on an article on that, and hope to have something up this week on X Rating Softball, unless we have coaching news, and there's a good possibility. And that's what I want to spend the last few minutes here before we call it a night.
Oh, by the way, we're gonna make a announcement for a guest on our podcast. By the way, podcast coming out Tuesday.
Go ahead and discuss that first.
Yeah. So for the podcasting schedule this week, we're gonna go to a Tuesday schedule, Tuesday, and then a regular Thursday, and then we're gonna talk about the live schedule later on. So no podcast tomorrow, podcast Tuesday, and then we'll have a podcast on Thursday. But keep in mind that now the Thursday podcast will be heavy D2, D3 because the championship game will not be decided yet. D2, D3. Yeah, you heard me.
Ooh, you're gonna give us a little recap, a little review?
There'll be a D2 Tuesday coming up on Tuesday at 2 p.m. on our Twitter account. So look out for that. Let's just say I'm working on some things for D2 and D3. So stay tuned. Follow us in the Circle SB for all that information. But yeah, Eric, it would not. You alluded to this earlier. With Texas making the national semifinal, you're thinking that Texas A&M is going to try and steal the spotlight from their rivals. What a surprise there! And are you saying that we could have an A&M announcement early this week?
As early as tomorrow.
Whoa!
This is. I don't know if it's going to happen. Here's what I'm going to tell you. There's a lot of smoke this weekend about A&M. There are some that believe that they have a coach. There are some that believe they have an offer to a coach. We might know that answer. I've been told that A&M wants to have a coach named by Wednesday. Remember, and keep this in mind, Victor. Keep this in mind. Once the World Series ends, once the championship series ends,
you can start recruiting the next game. So in theory, the World Series could end on the 9th, that Thursday, and coaches can go out to start recruiting on that Friday the 10th. Now, if it goes to game 3, which is the 10th, you have to wait until Saturday the 11th to start officially going out to tournaments and business, stuff like that. So you're thinking, Eric, Texas A&M wants to get a coach hired and in place so they can hit the ground running with recruiting.
And some people think they want to make this announcement to upstage Texas.
Wow.
And now there's a couple of names I've heard. I'm not going to mention who they are because I don't know what to believe. Except this. Here's what I will tell you this, Victor.
Yes.
If it's the name that I'm hearing, it will cause the biggest shakeup in the coaching carousel history. You keep asking me. Remember, you keep asking me about, hey, could this top the year that Jessica Allister? Oh, it would blow it up out of the water. It will blow it out of the water. If the name I'm hearing is accurate, it would upstage the World Series. That's how, if it's true. And I don't know if it is. I'm working the phones tonight, but I would not be surprised if you see an A&M announcement in the next couple of days. Also, you'll hear Texas Tech. That will not be a rim shaker like the A&M. But if the names I'm hearing, because there's a couple I've heard, even if they get one of those, it will cause a seismic.
Now keep in mind,
the biggest move. It would be the biggest off carousel transaction coaching move in the history of the sport, arguably.
Wow. So this would be
bigger
than
So go ahead. Way bigger.
So you're saying this could lead? Are you saying this could lead what major? Are you talking about leading Sports Center? Are you talking leading?
It's going to lead our show. It'll lead our show. Put it to this way: like we could have a championship series. It could lead our if this.
Let me put it this way, ladies. Is it one of those things that we could potentially do a live show just to discuss this hire if this person
won't be live. Hired? Won't be. I don't know. It depends on when it comes out. I don't know. I mean, it depends on what happens. But we'll see. It could be a rim shaker. I mean,
That's
we'll
something
find out.
that's something Eric and I
All
will
I
be
know
talking
is
all there.
there's a lot of buzz this weekend about the A&M job, and that the expectations is between now and Wednesday, they're going to have their head coach, and it should be announced. And this is the type of job, if it's the type of name that the non-softball media would cover it, Victor. Like Texas Ags and the A&M, all the Texas newspapers
Well,
would pick up
man,
on it.
all that stuff.
Yeah. This would be significant if it happens. I don't know for a fact who it is, but I've heard names. And the names I've heard, if it's true, if it's one of them, it will cause a seismic landscape change in this industry of coaching from a financial standpoint and from a coaching move standpoint. Something that to the point where we've never ever seen before in softball and maybe in other sports.
I have a few names in mind, but again, Eric and I are going to talk about this off air. But
it's not Patty Gasso. What two people? Not that. No, it's not her. And it's not a Gasso. I don't believe. How about that?
Yeah, Patty ain't leaving OU. No.
But this would be huge if it happens. But I don't know if it is. I don't. And that's why I'm not going to mention names until it's concrete, because there's, as you know, we're getting into the silly season where a lot of names, and you remember this. You and I covered the Texas saga back in 2018. How many names did we keep hearing during that season? Remember that? I was at the World Series. World Series. It was Tim Walton. It was his job, and then he got the extension with Florida. And then there was a bunch of other names that came up, and then eventually it ended up being Mike White. But it was name after name after name.
And I remember, and Eric, and can we go fourth wall here? Me and you were getting ready to go to Vieira to cover a USSSA Pride game.
Yeah.
And we talked, and we recorded a emergency podcast with Justin McLeod, who was the gentleman who broke the Mike White news of him leaving Oregon to go to Texas. And you're saying this is more seismic than that?
Yep. Potentially, yes. If it's the name I'm hearing, or one of the two names I'm hearing, yes, it would. And remember this, because I've been told this even before this weekend. Texas A&M wants to upstage Texas. They believe they're better than Texas. They believe they're a better job than Texas. They believe they should be more successful than Texas. And think about this, Victor. Texas is now in the Final Four. They got Mike White. How do you top that? Well, we might find out here shortly.
We got some people in the chat that are throwing some names out there. We will not comment on any speculation, but we can actually comment on facts, Eric, because we do have some facts about our potential plans in terms of our live shows. So
let me ask you this real quick. Because we don't know what the future might hold.
Yes.
Are you buying the hype that this A&M job is as good as it gets in the sport from a financial standpoint? A&M willing to spend a ton of money and the facilities. We've heard about this, Victor. Is it legit? Is this one of the best jobs? Because I can tell you that people over there believe so, and they're throwing money. This is legitimate. Whoever they hire is going to be well compensated.
Here's all I'm going to say: Texas A&M lured a national championship head coach to College Station and have not sniffed the SEC championship since Jimbo Fisher arrived. So,
wow.
All I'm gonna say is that if you are going to hire a coach that is going to change the landscape, it is going to be a seismic change. It better be the right coach, and it better be the right coach ready to make that jump to join the SEC. Who, oh, by the way, in a couple of years, that school that you're trying to upstage, they're joining your conference too. And trust me.
Don't you think? Trust me. Don't you think that plays a role in this? Because they know that. They know that.
Absolutely.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
There is pressure on A&M to respond and be ready. Who is that? We don't know. To answer your question, Victor, are we going to be on live? I don't know. It depends when this comes out. Is this going to come out during the World Series? Is it going to be on the off day? I don't know, but
Well,
Yeah, we'll
here
see.
is where our schedule is tentatively for the
Yeah,
time
let's
being.
go with that.
See
It's a
down
good
below.
word. It's a good
So,
description.
tentatively. So, we are going to go live Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, for our Champ Series preview. I will be efforting to get guests lined up left and right. Look, coaches have been blowing up Eric's phone to try and get on the show
Well,
and
that and
blowing up
other
his phone
reasons now all of a
and
sudden.
other
But yes.
reasons about that. That we're going to plan on going on live 90 minutes prior to first pitch of the championship series. Now, keep in mind,
That's
Friday,
Wednesday, correct? Wednesday.
yeah, Wednesday. You see the times. Wednesday at 7. Thursday again. Thursdays at 6, and then again, if necessary, we will be on live Friday night, 7 o'clock, and then we will do a live stream after we have crowned the national champion. And depending on who Texas A&M hires, we may do a live stream talking about that as well. Who knows? But
it might be as early as Monday night.
Hey, don't worry. We will. Eric, wouldn't it be something? And I want to throw this to you.
Oh, boy.
Texas gets the limit. Texas plays Oklahoma State at 7. 7 Eastern, 6 Central. What if 2 hours before that game, Texas A&M drops the hammer and announces their head coach?
You're not the. You know what's scary? You're not the first to have brought that idea up.
I'm just.
That's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about. That would be a time where you would drop the bombshell if you're A&M, wouldn't it?
If you are as petty as they say they are, you would drop that bomb either before that game, or if Texas should make it to the national championship series, you drop it on that Tuesday or that early Wednesday leading into game 1. Something tells me, Eric, based on what you're telling me, and we'll talk about this more off air.
You got me all nervous about. You're right. Oak State, Texas at 7. Man, that would be.
It's not out of the realm, Eric, when you're dealing with two long-standing rivals. And remember, Texas made a decision to let go of Connie Clark, brought in Mike White, and Texas A&M has been stewing. Seeing Texas get to the Super Regionals 3 straight years, seeing Texas make the Women's College World Series for the first time since 2013. And no, Wamblo, I'm not implying that they're going to be hiring the Texas coach. I'm not implying that at all. All I'm saying is that if you
think about this. Remember when Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC leaked? Who was the one that leaked it?
Texas
A&M.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. This is like, my God. And now you've given me that thought, Victor. Now I'm going to be like, you and I are going to have to discuss this off the air. What the heck are we going to do with this?
We're going to be doing that everywhere. We're going to be doing that anyway.
Oh, my God.
We're going to be doing that anyway, brother.
You're right, Jesse. I'm supposed to have a date. I mean, of course, this news is going to break when I'm supposed. Oh, my Lord. What are we doing?
You're going to have to cancel that date. But, Eric, one thing that we know.
That's probably true.
But, Eric, one thing that we can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a date on Tuesday.
Did we just get Michael Lateef reference? No, it's not Michael Lateef. Michael Lateef, no.
Nope, it's not him. Sorry. Now, Eric, one thing I can confirm with our people before we end our live stream for this evening, we got some breaking news about a guest coming on our podcast on Tuesday.
Go for it, please do.
And OU fans, y'all gonna be very, very happy.
You'll like this.
You'll like this announcement, OU fans.
I mean, I like it too, and I already know.
2-time national champion, a member of Team Mexico, Nicole Mendez, will be joining our humble podcast on Tuesday to talk about her career, her venture into broadcasting, and her Sooners as they try to make it back-to-back national champions in 2022. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it here first at 11:14 Eastern, 10:14 Central Time, 8:14 for those of you out in the West Coast. Nicole Mendez will be on our podcast again. Podcast coming out Tuesday. So think about this, Eric. We got our episode on Tuesday with Nicole Mendez.
Yep.
We have our final D2 Tuesday afternoon at 2, where we're talking about the D2 national champions, Rogers State from Oklahoma.
Yes.
Then we have our Champ Series live stream preview.
Right. And we'll touch on that on the podcast as well. That'll be our Although, again, who knows what else could come out.
Again,
between them.
all dependent on when this Texas A&M news breaks, because everything we're talking about that schedule.
Wouldn't it be something if they announced it while you're doing D2 Tuesday? What do we do then?
We will cross that bridge if we get when we get to it.
I'm sorry. My brain is all over the place after some of the suggestion you made about how they could drop this.
Is it not a valid suggestion, though?
No, it is. That's what's scary.
It's a valid suggestion.
It's really scary.
No, it's not. No, it's not Ted Nugent. Thank goodness.
Ted. So, yeah, we'll have the podcast. Regular podcast comes out Tuesday morning. Nicole Mendez will be a part of that. Victor and I, you'll hear our thoughts on the National Championship Series. First thoughts, glance. Who knows what other news might come out if A&M does or doesn't by then.
Good.
And then Victor, go ahead one more time. What's our schedule for the rest of the week? Because you'll probably remember while I'm on the phone.
Our tentative schedule, one more time again, tentative based on whatever might happen with this whole Texas A&M situation. Gonna go live Tuesday night for our Champ Series preview, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Then we're gonna go live 90 minutes prior to Game 1 of the Champ Series. So Wednesday night at 7. Thursday night at 6, and then if necessary,
it's not Mike Condrea. He's happy cheering on. He's happy cheering on Caitlin Lowe.
Happily,
keep the game.
Happily retired. Thank you very much. And then we'll do a live stream in the final out of the championship series. But we got this chat buzzing about the possibilities who A&M might
rightfully
hire.
so. I'm not good. That's why I'm not shooting people. I mean, I'm shooting people down that like that. But you will enjoy Nicole Mendez. I really enjoyed my chat with her. We're gonna have her on too. Like, she's gonna be part of Athletes Unlimited. We'll get into that during the podcast as well.
By the way, Athletes Unlimited draft taking place on the 11th.
Of course it does.
Oh. That's Saturday after the World
Victor,
Series.
Here's what I've come to this conclusion.
What?
If this A&M stuff goes down like I think it will, remember we were talking about taking a break and hey, not doing. Yeah, that's gonna be out the way.
We were on a break. We ain't gonna have no break.
Nope.
That break is gonna be broken. That break's gonna be more broken than Matt Hardy was when Jeff Hardy did that to him in TNA, and then all that whole deletion stuff happened. But yeah.
Fair enough. Hey, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thanks to Traci Adix-Zins, who is awesome. All head coach. Analysis again. Reminder: Oklahoma, UCLA at noon Eastern. First game there. So if you're expecting first take or something, sorry.
Sports Center.
Hannah Storm. I do miss Hannah Storm. So we'll have the OU UCLA at noon. UCLA's got to win twice. Oklahoma's got to win once. And then Texas and Oklahoma State. I can't even believe I'm saying that at night with. Who knows what else could drop? I feel like I'm previewing Monday Night Raw. You're asking.
Eric, except that this is actually going to be more exciting than what happens on Monday Night Raw.
Somebody's excited about what you're saying. Vic is getting me excited about D2. The more obscure, the better. Justin has the Horizon League breakdown slayed me. Wow. People by D2. What can you give a tease about D2? What are you going to talk about?
We're going to recap Rogers State's national championship run.
Where's Rogers State reside?
Oklahoma.
Also the home of the NIA champions.
Oklahoma City. Yes, won their 11th red banner. The Stars as well. So
all right. So again, thanks to Tracy Adix-Zins. I'm getting a text to call somebody here after I'm done on the show. Who knows what that could be?
Well, you call them, Eric. You call me. We will see all of you on Tuesday, possibly earlier, depending on
earlier. Who knows?
At least Tuesday, maybe earlier. Who knows? So for Eric, I'm Victor. Thank you for watching our live stream. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember, podcast comes out Tuesday with Nicole Mendez. And if you excuse us, we're going to try and wrap our heads around what the heck could happen with A&M. Thank you so much. Good night. Free Brittany Grinder. And good night, Canada.
Jada Cody's